Okay, hello, hello, hello. Told you I was going to try to do this live, and I am actually, I think I'm set up all right. I'd like to lower this one down just a little bit. I don't think you want to see the top of my head the whole time, but let me see if I can do that. I've got a actual, I got a computer and the Facebook going, and plus there's nobody on here right now, so that's a good thing. So we can go there. Hi. So, gosh, we're still high. Okay, let's go from here. Let's see how that works. Whatever, you can see my tummy. Anyway, this is Patty Hall, and I am here with Get Balanced 2020. And so what I do usually on a weekly basis is I do about 3 to 4 videos a week. And what they are doing is we're talking about how to get your mind, body, and spirit all in line so that we can live a balanced lifestyle. I'm still not happy with this, so let me go ahead and lower it just a little bit more. There we go. It's a little bit better. So basically, today is what we call Mindful Monday. And Mindful Monday, we concentrate on our focusing of what we want to transform our mind to. And basically what I'm trying to say is a lot of people are thinking negatively. A lot of people are thinking more on the destructive end of life. And it's not because of your mindset. It's actually because of what you've been taught, what you've been trained, how you've been trained, that kind of thing. And that sometimes we need to transform that, only because if we don't transform it, we live a life of picking the wrong things, the wrong decisions, the wrong choices. And then our life is not balanced because we're unhappy. We're not fulfilled. We don't know where we went wrong. So that's what this is all about. Now, we're having a 4-week series, and the 4-week series is for to get back to the roots, the foundation to why we are doing what we're doing. And I'm going to change this too. I just don't like the settings of this Facebook. I don't like doing Facebook Live like this for this reason. But so we're wanting to get to the foundation and the roots of everything. So if you haven't seen my channel on YouTube, Get Balanced 2020, basically what you'll go to is just Get Balanced 2020 Patty Hall, and you can find out videos on not only the mind, but nutrition, fitness, and also spirituality. And the spirituality means where is your faith, your belief coming from? And what I only ask you to do, everything is for free, from all the education, blood, sweat, tears, everything that I have done in my life. It's just that God is asking me to do this at this time and put it out. He says, it's time, it's ready, go teach. So that's what I'm doing. I'm teaching. So basically, if you go to YouTube, please, please, please like, share, subscribe. Same with my Facebook. If you could please like and share, because that's how we get the word out a little bit more. Also, too, I just want to be able to help others get through their process of what they need to better their lives to a more successful life, whatever that goal is for you there in that. So I'm actually going to raise this back up. I'm just not getting along with Facebook today, I guess. So you'll get to look at the ceiling a little bit more. Okay, so let's get started. So last week in part 1, what we talked about is we're talking about basically getting to the root of an issue. Okay, so an issue or where we got started. So a lot of the times when we're thinking and how we are trained to think, because we are trained to think certain ways, because that is our society. Whether you live in the Eastern world, the Western world, or wherever you live, we are actually trained. And who are we trained by? But our parents, and then their parents was trained from their parents, and their parents were trained from their parents. But what we forget about is times have changed. This isn't the 1800s, and so things were completely different. And so we look at things still in a term from way back when actually things have changed now. They didn't have social media. They didn't have computers and phones and all that kind of stuff back then. And we think now that the way we think is actually okay sometimes to be disrespectful to others, but also too, some of our thought processes that we would say on the internet or the phone, we would never ever do in person. So why do we do that? And why do we allow ourselves to do that? Where did that come from? So the idea is to start any communication, and that's what I like to teach. I like to teach about good communication between yourself and your divine, but also for yourself and maybe a partner, your family, or whatever, so you can be clearly understood for yourself. That's what this is all about. Get Balanced 2020 is about you getting yourself to a place that you're happy with. So last week we talked about the roots. And this is where we all get form our ideas. We get to form how we think. Do we think more of a negative manner? Do we think more out of fear? Do we think more out of love, compassion? So it all just depends on how we were brought up. Now, as a parent, sometimes we can actually still teach somebody to be positive and inspiring, but that person is actually still down on themselves or whatever. So a lot of the things that we do as a parent, we try to educate our kids to be more mindful in their thought process, more respectful, more caring of others, that kind of, but sometimes that doesn't happen. No, then parents are like, where did I go wrong? Where did I fail my kid? Okay, you didn't. Because they have their own brain, their own thinking process. Also, too, you don't know what's going on in their life. Their life might be, because it's a very different world for our kids today, they might be being bullied out school. They might be called names. I remember as a kid, I wasn't even fat, but because of my brother's mental abuse to me, he would call me fatso and ugly, and all those really dark, negative things would come in. So sometimes it's the circumstance around you or your child or anybody that you're going to start beginning believing something that is not even true. The same with spirituality. We are given a certain container that we grow in. So, and I don't know, I put it back. But the thing is that when we start looking at our roots of where we started our thinking, we have to go back. And this is what we did last week. We went back and we sat there and we said, okay, how, where, when, who affected my process of thinking? So a lot of the times, if trauma happens, then even our thinking may even shift. So maybe we start out positive. I've been in a really serious car accident. Before that, I had no problem. I'm thinking, we watch TV and the movies and things like that, and we look at it as like, oh, okay, it's a car accident. But when you're actually in something, and I had a T-bone where I hit somebody who ran a red light, and that poor young girl, I was more afraid to hurt her than me getting hurt. But when I impacted, it was extremely painful, and how desensitized we are to things that are traumatic in somebody's life. Then afterwards, I was paranoid of intersections for a while. So our thought process can change, but we need to recognize, is it changing? Why is it changing? And is this a healthy way for our thought process to change? A lot of that then comes back to the roots, whether we stay somewhere and be stuck in something, whether we stay in self-disappointment or depression or things like that. We stay there, or do we just visit there and move on because we don't want to live there? So our roots are our basic foundation. Like when you build a house, there is a foundation. That is so important. So last week we talked about filling in those cracks of the foundation, our brokenness, and being able to start right where you're at right now, right immediately where you're at. Forget about what's all gone in the past. You need that, but you don't need that anymore for your foundation. You need to grow a fresh, new foundation. So, and what we want to do with that foundation and those roots is we want them to be like the tree, where they're spread out and you can have good, positive freedom to communicate in a healthy manner, in a healthy way. We do not want you to do this. We do not want you to sit there and be a potted plant where you are restricted in all your growth. This cannot grow any bigger than what this pot is. And that's what we're doing to ourselves when we don't get back to the roots of how this is and replant it outside so that it can just spread and grow. So that's the whole thing. Now, today is going to be a little bit touchy for some. And the reason is because if you do not get to the root of how you think, why you think, it's not going to change. And here's the thing, and I know this firsthand, but here's the thing. We look at ourselves most of the time how others see us, not how we see ourselves. Because if we really truly saw ourselves in truth, we're beautiful people. We're all broken. In any person on that walks this earth is broken in some manner. So basically what you need to do for yourself is learn to love yourself, work on yourself, restore yourself, and let everybody else restore themselves. And that's why I do these videos, so that other people can be touched, other people can think, other people can actually work on themselves. There's actually a show my daughter sort of got in the habit of watching, and she's actually on track. It's called, I think, Ilana Fixed My Life or something like that. We don't need fixing, we just need restoring. Because we already have a base, but we need to restore it back to truth, back to love. Okay? So today, the basic topic is, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired of the way that you're thinking? Because the way that you're thinking may be more destructive than constructive. And what I'm talking about are mostly, when I was a personal trainer and manager of a gym, a lot of women had low self-esteem. They had no confidence in themselves. We're getting back to the roots again. I know that I'm on two screens, so I don't know if you can see that, but it's basically low self-esteem, low self-confidence, low self-worth, low, I said esteem twice. You were hurt from somebody. Now, if you're hurt from somebody, is that because you made the wrong choice and they're actually an okay person? It's just that the choice that you made maybe been from the wrong root or the basis of how you chose them. So maybe somebody hurt you, and maybe you don't have any trust anymore in anybody or a relationship or a person, a family member or whatever. I don't trust anybody. I used to say that, but you know what? I was the one with the issue, not them. So I needed to fix myself. I needed to restore myself. Or maybe your circumstances are the ones that actually are the issue that, people say, well, I'm poor, I don't have money, I don't do this. I've been homeless to being a business owner. Those are excuses, because there are people that have lived in Harlem that are actually millionaires, very successful. And I'm not talking about success in a money effort. It's money, it's a success into whatever it is for your life, your purpose, your goal. So today we need to get down to, and I'm talking to a lot of ladies because I'm on a couple abuse support groups on Facebook. And what I really want you to look at is when I hear you say, why is he doing this to me? Why am I in this relationship? All I want or all I need is, I need to be held. I need to be told I loved. Now, there is a good book out there called The 5 Love Languages. If you haven't read it, do that for yourself, because do you even know what your love language is? Because when we look at love and communication, that other person's love language, maybe they're giving you flowers and bringing you gifts, and you're like, yeah, whatever, because maybe you just need to hear, I love you. So these are communication issues, and that's for a whole nother topic in time. But right now we need to get to the roots, why you feel. Now I'm going to put my head back into when I was personal training women, because here's where the problem is when they want to lose weight, or because I say this to women, but there are men out there too. But the thing is that when you start wanting to lose weight, one of the questions I ask is, okay, why now do you want to lose weight? Well, I've been trying for years. I used to do this, I used to do that, and I lost a few pounds, and I now am, now overweight, so now I want to pull that weight off. And the thing is, I sit down and have, because of being an empath and having a lot of intuition, I have to sit down with a client and talk to them and get some roots to the problem, to the history. Because when I was bodybuilding and I lost all that weight in 1 year and was on a stage from 15 pounds down to 136 that next year on stage, what I found out was it isn't about the losing the weight, it's here. So we need to get to the roots to why a person is holding on to that weight. So when I sit down with somebody, I ask them, and I need to get to the nitty gritty. Because majority of the time, a lot of the times, there has been some type of trauma that they have not let go, they have not done the homework, they have not moved forward with, and are actually faking it until they make it. And how's that working for you? It's not. It is not. You cannot fake it until you make it. You need to be honest with yourself. You need to get to the roots of the problem. Did you have sexual abuse? Did you have mental abuse? Did you have a trauma? Maybe parents passed away. Maybe you were adopted and you felt abandoned. It could be a million kinds of things that actually started at the root. And I don't know what that is, but you do. And so that's where we need to get to the root of why we're thinking what we do. I had a brother called me fat, ugly. He abused me mentally, sexually, and that kind of thing. But the thing is, I allowed that person outside of me to define my identity of who I was. You can't let somebody do that to you, because that is so, so wrong, because that is not who you are. That is not what you were put on this earth to be. God put us on this earth to actually be somebody, not for ourselves, but for Him and for others. And that's the whole purpose of us being here, is to love and be here for others. So when somebody puts you down, and especially you need to be listening to your children, really, really listening to what they're saying or not saying, especially if their attitudes are changing, because I've been through it. I wouldn't talk about it. I had so much fear because I was being threatened that I couldn't talk about anything. And I squashed not only that for years, then I squashed myself as a person for years. It wasn't even until I was in my 50s that I actually allowed myself to blossom and the chains come out. Get to the roots to why you're thinking the way you're thinking. If you're thinking negative or you're making excuses, this is a destructive way. And that's why you're tired of being sick and tired. Because the decisions that you're making become a pattern and a rotation and cycle. And it happens over and over and over again. So to break that cycle, you have to do the homework. You have to sit down, get yourself a piece of paper and pencil. You may end up crying a lot. That's a good thing. Because what happens if you don't cry, you don't feel those feelings, you cannot grow and move on, because actually growth comes from the pain that we have, or the trials or the tribulations. Everybody thinks this coronavirus thing right now is really, really bad. Actually, I see it as a good thing, because it's about time we need to reset. We need to look at how beautiful the people are coming together. We can come together. It's a choice. These are choices. So when we get to the roots as adults, and you got to remember, we are adults now, so we can take those traumas and past, and we can bury them and put them away. Now, you may revisit them every now and then. You might go to the cemetery and say hello, but you definitely don't want to put up a tent and stay in the cemetery and just bury them. Time to start a fresh, new way of thinking, positive. I tell a lot of my clients, there is a video. I have several videos on YouTube. I'd really like you to look at the ones, Bad Habits. If you haven't seen that one, go to Bad Habits, because what we do is we start rotating in our mind. And well, I'm not thinking negative. Oh, yes, you are. So when you can recognize something that you're thinking negative about, boom, recognize it, immediately change it to a positive thought. Well, my situation isn't getting any better. Well, maybe it's not at the moment, but you also got to put a spin on that and think more positive. well, my situation's not getting better, but what can I do right now to help myself get through this situation? What positive thought can I think? If you're sitting there thinking, well, he doesn't love me anymore. We've been together a long time. We have kids together. Whatever the situation is, you need to be asking yourself, is this a healthy situation? If it's not, then there's a lot of communication breakdown. Again, that's another thing, but you've got to be looking at for yourself, what is healthy for you? What is going to put you on a path of positive growth as a person, make you feel happy, elated, joyful, whatever you want to call it. So that's what you need to do, is you need to get back to the basics and get to the roots. So I see a lot of women out there that are staying with relationships that are not healthy, that are actually, I can see, not going to go anywhere, especially if the other person is not willing to restore themselves or grow themselves. Especially narcissistic people will not. They're right. They're right all the time. I'm right. I'm the one. It's all about me. So they're not. So you have to make the decision for yourself, your children or whatever. And you say, well, I don't have anything. There's so many resources out there. I've been through being homeless. Trust me, I've found every resource I can. It's how bad or how tired you are of being sick and tired. So these are excuses. When you got to go make an excuse for something, you know that you're not living in your purpose. So I have another example. One of my lady friends, I used to be very manipulative. I used to be dishonest. I used to be not a very good person. And it wasn't was doing anything wrong, but it was all about me and for me and what I needed for myself or my business or whatever. I didn't really care what other people thought. But because that's the way I started out and my self-esteem was so low, I had to find something to make me feel good. So my roots were all planted in this because I had to lie my way since a child. I couldn't talk about my abuse. I couldn't do anything about that. I just knew that I was the bad one. Well, in all reality, I wasn't the bad one. It's somebody else's issues that were actually training my brain to think wrong. But here's the thing. We have to look at what we're doing not only for ourselves in our thinking and getting back to these issues. We've got to fix these issues. We've got to restore that. We need to say, I have self-image. I have confidence. I have self-worth. I have self-esteem. Nobody needs to hurt me only if I allow them to hurt me. Because here's the thing, you're like, well, you're going to get somebody to hurt you. Yeah, you will get somebody to hurt you. It's not only how you bounce back, but it's who you choose in your life. And that's why it's really important to get your basic roots formed in positive thinking, successful thinking, for your purpose thinking, because you're picking the wrong people. And yes, you're going to even get hurt more when you pick the wrong people in your life. So you are the one for your destiny. Destiny is actually the process of getting to your purpose, but you're the one that allows people into your life. You're the one that has the choice to speak truth, or you have the choice to speak for whatever other people want you to believe you are. Does that make sense? So that's basically getting back to this. People have told you all these things to make you feel these things. And you're not that at all. So the point is, when you sit down and start doing your homework, which it's not going to come overnight, and I hope that you'll watch this over and over again. I'm not that exciting, sorry, but there's some good information in here, that you sit down with yourself and you ask yourself, one, who am I in the heart? In the heart, who am I? I say Patty is a loving person. Patty is a kind person. Patty is a compassionate person. Patty is a strange person because she has different abilities, but these abilities are good to help others. So you have to be able to see all the positive that you have in you. you need to write them down so you can see it. And then you need to post it somewhere that you need to keep telling yourself these things. And it sounds as corny can be, but this is what needs to happen, because if we write it down, we visualize it, we speak it, we begin to believe it. So when it comes to no trusting in somebody else, maybe you were cheated on, maybe somebody stole something from you. I don't know what it would be, but somebody out there had somebody do something that you cannot trust another person. And the thing is, when you do that, you're projecting that person that hurt you into this new person, and that new person is not the same. Whether they're similar, whether they have the same traits, whether they have the same abilities, you're basing your hurt and your garbage and baggage, if I may say it, to that new person, and it doesn't give that new person, and maybe that new person has a very positive attitude, maybe they're lifting you up, they want to support you, but all you see is, I can't trust them. That's an issue you need to work on, and you have to get to the roots to why and how you can restore yourself to stop thinking that you cannot trust anybody. I was there. I was like, okay, you know what? But my issue is in me. I trust everybody, but now if you give me a benefit of a doubt that I can't trust you, then we're going to have some words or questions or why, because that's where communication comes in. And a lot of the times we may not trust somebody because our perception of our roots of what we perceive is truth and real is not the other person's. So you may think they're a bad person, but that's not their truth. Their roots are buried somewhere else. Their roots are deep somewhere else. And their issues and what they do and how they act and react, whether they cheat or not cheat, that's an issue within them. And so they have to get to their roots to find out their problem. And that's why I say when we're talking about roots, you need to get to your own roots. Now, when you get there and you sit and I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I did this. Or, I noticed a pattern that I keep picking the bad boys, you know. Why do I keep picking the bad boys? Because your self-esteem is probably lower, and they probably give you what your love language is, affirmation, oh, baby, I love you, oh, baby, look at that, you're such a great woman, oh, but whatever it is, right? And maybe that's your love language, and then you eat it up because you're vulnerable. And let me tell you, there's another story about that. I could just go off. But there's vulnerability there, so you need to say, whoa, pull on those reins, stop that horse, whoa. And you need to back that horse up for a while. Because if you're actually falling for the bad boy over and over and over again, or bad girl, because there are some girls out there, let me tell you, but the thing is, you're falling for the wrong person for the wrong reasons all the time because your roots need to be replanted. Your thinking process needs to be replanted. So you need to back up. How do I make good choices? One, you sit there and you figure out, you analyze what it is. I'm going to try to watch this time because I'm trying to keep these 30 minutes because I don't want to go over that because I've got a lot of other things to do. And man, let me tell you, if I could be a preacher, I'd be a preacher because I'm on fire today. I am so on fire today. But okay, so the thing is, you need to recognize what the negative, destructive thinking is. That's the number one thing. Recognize what the destructive, negative thinking is. Well, how do I even know if I'm thinking negative? I've always thought this way, so how do I know if it's negative? If your life isn't balanced the way that you want it, if you are not joyful, you are not happy in the way that you want it, then it's not the right thinking. It's all about the thinking process. So we need to switch that up. And that's why I want to stay on the roots for at least 2 weeks, because this is the formation of where we start. So you have to sit there and recognize, let me think. The way to do it also too, thank you for that, is that if you get a fork in the road, you need to make a decision. Wow, or even somebody said something not so nice. Call them on it. If you have a decision and this way you're like, well, okay, that sounds good. But you have to then reach in your heart of what it is that you are, who you are, because we're trying to build who you are as a person. This is for you. Nobody else's journey, yours. So you need to reach, okay, well, that really sort of sounds good, but I don't really have the money to do that. But, I could pay that bill later, and I could just sort of rob Peter to pay Paul. Then I could do that. What is really the right thinking? No, I have bills to pay. I need to do that first before I go off and have fun. That is the right thinking. And then you're going to say, well, I'm just surviving. Well, maybe right now that's all you need to be, because you need to be working on yourself. Because that is part of the process of going from negative, destructive behavior, destructive thinking, to a positive, healthy process of thinking. Now, when you're writing your list, that's the number one thing. Recognize it. Number two, when you get to the point of speaking something negative or something that isn't in your heart for you, because we're trying to find out who that person is inside, is then you need to stop. Recognize and stop. And while you're at that stop, you're going to analyze what it is that you really need to be doing. And the number one thing that you should be doing is walking in truth. And if you know in your heart that something isn't right, it isn't right. And you need to stay away from that, because that's where you get into the patterns, because it's very easy to fall back into patterns. And so you want to be able to do that. All right. So you're going to recognize, stop, analyze, walk in the truth, and begin to recognize that every day. And you do this, it's going to take baby steps. But as I did for a friend, I said one day, you know what? I'm really tired of you thinking negative. I don't talk negative. I don't think negative. And I'm like, yeah, you do. And it's like, really, it's because it wears the other person's energy down as well. And then you can actually change the whole ambiance of a room with your negativism, because it feeds off. I mean, we are energy. Whatever the energy is in the room, that is going to feed off, and everybody becomes that way. Try it sometime. I've done it many a times just when I was actually doing some research, and we really have more power than what we can believe in. But when you're thinking negative, you don't even realize it. And when you're thinking negative, that's when you need somebody else to have an accountability partner, or somebody who will support you in your positive growth. And if you don't have anybody, email me. Email me. I'd be happy to help you. But what you want to do is, and this person thought they were going to be negative, not negative. I said, okay, just for today, because we were going to spend the day together. Just for today, I want you to think of every time you think a negative thought, just recognize it. That's it. And that's all we did. I just wanted that person to recognize it throughout the day. We were having fun. Day was going on. I didn't even know if they even took me seriously or not. So at the end of the day, I was just sort of curious. I said, did you even think about what I said? Did you think about, how many times you were thinking this thought? They're like, you know what? I didn't realize how many times I caught myself in that. So a lot of people don't even recognize they're doing it. So recognize it first. That's this week. And then write it down, because we're not going to stay on roots. We're going to go to the trunk next, because we want to build those roots. I may stick on, if the divine wants me to stay one more week on roots, we'll stay one more week on roots. But I'm not getting a lot of feedback that people are actually needing to stay on roots. So if you need me to stay on roots, please do. Because this is the basis of you changing your thought process, your patterns, being persistent, being persevering through the storms. This will change your whole process of how you see a storm. You'll be able to go through a storm with peace and be calm, because it's your storm, not anybody else's storm. It's your thinking, your process, your spirit and heart that gets you through it. So that's the number one thing. So get your paper out this week on part 2 and start recognizing the negative thoughts, Because whatever, and here's the other thing. When you think you, like, I don't even know. Do you have low self-esteem? Do you have low confidence? Do you have a bad self-image? Well, I'm heavy. So what? You're heavy. Now, if you're unhealthy heavy, you can do something about that. See, you're making an excuse not to. So we have nutrition and fitness. Those are going to be my next videos. But don't make excuses. When you're making excuses, that's negative. That's an excuse. And we know what excuses are like. Everybody's got one of those down there. They all stink. Excuses are no good. So this is what I want you to get on. So I hope that this has helped you to get started. This is baby step, baby step, baby step. I want you to start noticing that negative pattern because it's keeping you depressed. For whoever this is out here, this is for somebody who is very depressed. They are lost. They don't know how to get out of their situation. And that's what I'm here for. Go to my website, send me an email, Facebook me, become a friend on there, PM me. Whatever you need to do, I am here to help you. And it's no cost to you to get you to be on a better track for your purpose, your journey, not mine. I already know where I'm going. I already know what I have so much spirit and hoo-hoo-ness in me. I'm good, but I'm still a work in progress. I will be until I take this last breath. So go to getbalanced2020.com or go to YouTube and watch some of these videos on persistence, bad habits. These are really important videos that I did for you. So please, please, please go there. But I ask you to please like and share and send these on to other people, friends or family that maybe need it. And then I'm going to be doing another video here in a few seconds on nutrition and fitness. So if you want to watch on that, please do so too. Thank you for coming. Don't forget, getbalanced2020.com. And you can go on the little button in the right-hand corner if you want to see what other programs, because I can set up a nutrition program for you. I can do a fitness. We can do a one-on-one counseling. We can do all kinds of stuff. Go on the website, click the appointments, and you'll see more details. All right, I love you, and I'll talk to you again. This is part 2 of a 4-week series, so please go back and see part 1. You'll see it on YouTube. Get Balanced 2020 Patty Hall. Love you guys.